In this video, I'm going to be talking about a range of different status maxing paths and deciding which tier they belong to based on the pros and cons of each path. So the first path we have is an elite team sports athlete. I'm going to put this in A tier because this is one of the highest forms of status there is in today's world, and being at the top of your game in a popular team sport makes it almost automatic that you'll have a decent social media following and have opportunities for endorsements. One of the things about being a team sport player that could be seen as a drawback is the lack of freedom that exists with some other career routes, and the amount of dependency that's placed on managers' decisions and the possibility of your career ending at any point due to a bad injury or bad run of form. The next status maxing path we have is individual sports players. This includes boxers, golfers, tennis players, and all other individual athletes, and I'm going to put this in A tier as well. While many individual sports have a lower earning base than most popular team sports, making it to the top of an individual sport has massive earning potential along with massive status potential. The drawbacks to individual sports are needing to be extremely successful in your given field to become widely known. But one of the benefits is that if you dedicate your life to a given sport, the outcome is more in your hands, since it simply comes down to beating your opponent, since you aren't relying on teammates' performances, and your fate isn't determined by whether a manager can spot your talent and picks you, like it is in team sports. With individual sports, there's also more room to build your brand based on your journey and develop a following that exceeds your talent level, whereas in team sports, it's rare to see a standard squad player building a large brand that exceeds their talent level. In women's team sports, some players can build brands that exceed their talent level and have their brand be their main source of income, but I'm just going to be focusing on men's status maxing on this channel. Next we have dating someone with status. I'm going to put this in B tier, and the reason I put it in B tier is because it has a strong payoff without actually having to produce anything of value yourself. If you're a man who's dating a girl who has online status, particularly an influencer with a lot of female followers, it's going to boost your female following and the amount of girls who are curious about you. This means if you do end up breaking up, a lot of girls who have been following you are going to see this as their chance to try date the man that their idol was dating.
Do you use my followers to get girls?
For sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
I haven't had any opportunities
Have you like people DM'd you and stuff, and they obviously just follow
certainly
you?
easier, yes.
A lot of women with online status who complain about getting cheated on by their partners were probably pursued by guys who knew how much their platform could benefit them and had the intention of just using them for the status halo they could give them. The drawbacks to this kind of status is that it's dependent on someone else to sustain, and if things end badly they can turn their audience against you. But if you only feature in a positive light in the content of someone you're dating or were dating in the past, it's a good status halo with minimal value requirement on your part. Next up we have male modelling, and I don't believe this is as potent of a status halo as some people might think, so I'm going to put this in C tier. There's only a small minority of male models who can actually make a good living from it, and in the social media age, everyone can portray themselves as a model by posting professional pictures taken by a photographer, so the barrier to entry to LARPing as a model is now very low. With the rise of startup clothing brands, it seemed like every gym cell with a tattoo sleeve was now modelling for some kind of clothing brand, which again lowered the bar to entry for someone to call themselves a model. The fact that the current standards for male modelling don't actually ensure that someone is traditionally good looking, but usually just means that they're unusual or unique looking, means that the title of working as a male model doesn't hold that much of a halo, with there also being the stigma that men involved in the fashion industry are effeminate. Austin Wayne is a good example of someone who has done work as a male model, but has said that from a financial perspective it simply isn't worth it, especially when you could be using the time going to modelling gigs and castings to grow your own platform instead. The label of being a model is something that could be seen as a halo if you have evidence of working with big brands, but in terms of the ROI of trying to pursue a career in modelling for the status halo, You'd probably be better off focusing on growing your own platform if you have traditional good looks. Next we have influencer or content creator, and I'm going to put this in A tier because the amount of status and money you can gain from being a well-known influencer can rival some top athletes, and the advantage is that you don't need to be particularly talented or need specific genes and a lifetime of commitment like you do to excel in sports. But anyone watching this video could in theory start posting content tomorrow and attain giga status within a year from now. Clavicular is a perfect example of someone who went from having a small online following to arguably becoming the most hyped and viral e-celeb in under a year. While genetics will play a role in your ability to convey an entertaining persona on camera for hours per day in the case of streamers, some influencers can see success simply off the back of posting pictures or short rehearsed videos with editing without any need to be able to convey their thoughts well in real time. The benefit of going down the content creator route is that if you start posting within a particular niche at the right time when there's a demand for it before it's overly saturated, you can build a lifelong follower base and you can sustain a good income and flexible lifestyle for years while automating or outsourcing the work or services you provide. The drawbacks to becoming an influencer are the pressure to stay relevant to maintain an income if you don't earn enough to set yourself up for life financially, and the dependency on social media algorithms where changes in the algorithm or changes in trends can cut your content traction in half overnight if you aren't able to adapt. One of the main perks of being an influencer compared to being an athlete is schedule freedom and being able to live a spontaneous party lifestyle, which is much harder for athletes to get away with. The next status maxing route is being an actor, and this is an extremely potent status maxing route, so I'm going to put it in S tier since the biggest celebrities in the world are often actors. Obviously A-list Hollywood celebs receive the biggest advantages from giga status and get paid extreme sums of money, but getting to the level of being featured in a Netflix show is an insane status boost, and if the show is well received, it can set a person's brand and career up for life, allowing them to branch out to more than just acting. The reason why actor halo is so potent in terms of gaining interest from women is because they're watching the man playing a role that often triggers an array of emotional states, so this familiarity that they develop with the character makes them feel an emotional connection to them without ever meeting them in real life, which is why fangirls sometimes show manic obsession when they come close to an actor they adore in person. Next we have being the child of a famous person, so basically having status entirely off the back of your parents' name, so someone like Brooklyn or Romeo Beckham, and this has to be A tier since it's status that's given by birth and doesn't require any real effort on the person's part to maintain, and many women will want to date a man simply because he's the son of someone famous and has the automatic status and wealth that's associated with the name. The perks to being in this position is that these people get a head start with their platform if they do try to sustain an audience based on their own merit, but they'll likely be faced with the constant comparisons to their parents and reminders of inadequacy talent-wise. While this category obviously isn't something that anyone watching this video can strive towards since it's given by birth, this video is just looking at the different avenues for status regardless of how attainable they are for the ordinary person. But future videos will be focused solely on pathways the ordinary person can take to status max. Next we have comedians, and under the comedian label I'm going to include both stand-up comedians and people who post comedy skits online as the exclusive theme of their content. I'm going to put this in C tier because it falls into the realm of performing for other people's approval, as the amount of people who are naturally funny compared to the ones who are just try hard is quite low, and it's usually a case where naturally funny guys happen to be average or below in looks, so the status halo of being a comedian probably doesn't translate massively to interest from women in these cases. People could say that comedians with unconventional looks like Pete Davidson prove comedian status halo, but I would say he's simply a Hollywood status hierarchy climber who benefited from networking, rather than comedian status being the reason he dated so many status maxed women. When it comes to online skit creators who have exploded in numbers since TikTok and Instagram Reels became popular, I think it's pretty evident that most creators just do it as a way to try get videos of themselves to go viral, and random comedy skits seem like the most straightforward path for people without any specific talent. Next we have public pranksters and street interviewers, and like the skit creators we just mentioned, it's pretty clear that they're just using their pranks and interviews as a means to try go viral and gain clout, but they're typically a level below skit creators in terms of creativity, so they go into D tier. When people go down this route, it's basically an admission that they have nothing of value they can add, so they have to approach people and try to make them uncomfortable or hit them with awkward questions to try get reactions for views. The reason I put it in D tier rather than F tier is because it can still work as a means for gaining online status simply based on the fact that accounts that do this can gain large audiences. Next up we have clout chasers, which I'll define as people who try to gain status by interacting with people who already have status. So this would be guys who approach a well-known streamer and do something stupid in an attempt to clip farm. Examples of this would be going onto a live call with a streamer and trying to be controversial, or trying to start fake beef with a content creator in public. This is a very fickle strategy and unlikely to lead to any gain in status long term, which is why it goes in F tier. Finally we have musicians, and this goes into S tier because this is the only status level that can fill 80,000 seater stadiums just to watch one person perform. The power of being a musician is that it allows you to provide an emotional experience to countless people all over the world, and providing them with this experience makes them pedestalize you and makes them want to see you perform live to experience the emotions live. Successful musicians are known for having hordes of girls who pedestalize them and obsess over them, and performing live as a musician is one of the most lust-inducing acts in the eyes of women. While acting roles also trigger emotional responses from viewers, the actor is more dependent on the framework around them, meaning that viewers will generally have a similar emotional response to a character in the movie regardless of whether actor A plays the character or actor B plays the character, assuming they're both similarly suited for the role. With musicians, however, it allows for true individuation, whereby the unique piece of art created by the artist is loved because of its content, which was dependent on that particular artist to be created. If a band like Oasis, for example, never existed, it doesn't mean that a massive Oasis fan would instead be a massive fan of a different band within their genre, since people can have little interest in a given music genre but simply be obsessed with one musician or band. Musicians don't serve as placeholders where people simply like who's at the top, which is more so the case with other forms of status, but rather they build a following based on a more genuine form of appreciation, which stems from the emotions they can provide to the listener. I'm going to be going into more specific StatusMaxxing tier lists in future, with this list being foundational in showing the scope of the most powerful to most pathetic StatusMax avenues. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.